Sorry, my iPod shuts off every time it runs out of storage, so we're installment number 3. I'm trying to move this along a little quickly. I was saying that a lot of students are a little surprised, I think, when they come to 7th grade and the story doesn't wrap up at the end with some cute little ending, right? Like, that's kind of how we teach you in elementary, that everything wraps up with a bow. And by junior high, you're kind of too smart for that. And so a lot of secondary writing is, I mean, at the end, her dad dies, her uncle dies, and they don't come back from the dead like in some magical unicorn story. She, literally the last line of the story, right, is like, okay, Papa, I'll try. I'll try to keep moving on even though this is hard. And I think that's always a little bit shocking. So please don't think that your resolution does not equal happily ever after. But your story needs to come together at the end so it doesn't just feel like, and like what's coming next, right? Next I want to talk about point of view, and I want to be a little careful with this because in dialectical journals it looked like we were only thinking of character point of view. But when I lectured, particularly 8th graders, attention here, when I lectured we talked about reader, author, narrator, or main character, other characters, right? So you get to make a decision when you tell your story. Are you going to tell the story? Are you going to be the narrator? Author, narrator, and main character. You're taking all the roles, which is fine. Are you going to have a narrator that's different? Is your brother going to tell the story? Are you going to tell it how you imagine he would tell the story? Are you going to be the narrator, but you're going to take on a persona? For instance, if I talk about you guys in my teacher persona, it's going to sound different than if I talk about it in my home persona, who I am. I have a slightly different persona at home for sure, because I'm not managing other people. I'm just managing myself, my dog. It's a very different persona I take on. I could even make up a persona, right? I could be a flake. That wouldn't be making up a lot. Or I could be a really strict teacher. That's not who I am, but I could make a persona, right? So it's not even just having a narrator or deciding you're going to be the narrator. It's like, who is that narrator? And 9th graders know unreliable. Can I trust my narrator? Are you going to tell the story how you remember it and how much? I had a student a couple of years ago tell a story about how she canceled Mother's Day, right? And the whole time she's like indignant while she's telling it. Like she's like, look at what I did. It's so, right? She did it in her little girl persona. Like she was so proud that she had thought of this idea and she was going to teach her mother a lesson, right? That's not how she feels now. But her narrator to the story was this young girl who really believes adults can be taught lessons too, which I kind of like that idea. So think about if you're going to have a narrator, who that narrator is going to be, what's going to be the attitude of your narrator, and can we trust them? These are all structural choices you get to make as you're an author. You get to choose all these things. And then decide, within that you're deciding first or third person, right? And some people are like, I'm going to do both. Careful there. There are only rare occasions where you're going to do both. For instance, if Before We Were Free was written in third person, which it's not, but it could be, and then you switch to a journal, you've gone from third to first, and that works. When I talk about my people pleaser, that part of me that wants people to like me, she takes over. You notice I talk about her in third person. I was taught to do that. And kind of separate her and look at her and examine her so that and then put her back in, right? But that's something I've been taught to do, and it helps me to consider myself different, like pull my parts out and be like, that's my people pleaser. She's kind of a problem sometimes, right? If I'm doing that in my writing though, if you're reading something from this crazy teacher who starts talking about her people pleaser and she and this girl, and right, you're like, isn't that her? Author's doing that on purpose, right? Author might be crazy, fair, but author is definitely doing it on purpose and wants you to see something in that switch, right? And so you get to choose, and that's not really changing the story to a third person, but it is an interesting way to play with first and third person. So think about whether you want to, because you can write it in third person. She went to the store, she thought about this, right? And then you get to decide as a third person, how much does your narrator know? Are they omniscient? Do they see everything? Or are they limited to one particular character? An omniscient narrator, you can bounce between your characters, and sometimes that's helpful if you weren't actually there for all parts of the event you're writing about, right? That gives you some flexibility. I'm going to cut there because I have one more section to do, but I know this is going to die right in the middle.